host of the Gridiron.
Fourth and goal to go with the 2. 34 seconds left to go in the ball game. This is the play right now. Takes the snap. Targeted goes in. Targeted all alone. And the quarterback keeps. Wow, what a call. Nobody touched him.
They would have trade, sort of this article, if there's of the Giants, found somebody or wanted to trade up to number 3, and the Giants would have moved back, right? Three trade down candidates for the Giants. Now, like this guy here, this is somebody, if we move back a couple slots or something like that, this guy right here may not be bad to think about because you put him right next to Sexy, right? Mr. Graham here, right? So now, of course, it depends upon also how far back the Giants, for whatever, would have moved back to number 13. Well, this guy's not going to be here. They move back to number 12 or whatever, something like that, for whatever reason. Some of these other guys you're talking about aren't going to be here. But, there are some guys, obviously, there's tackles, right? There's cornerbacks there. There's, he keeps talking about, is it McMillan? I think McMillan from Arizona, right? All right, let me get here. Is this it? All right, so we got here 3. Giants could target 3 prospects in the top 10. Giants aren't necessarily looking to trade down, but who might they target in the top 10 if they found a partner? Giants are more likely to stay put and draft either a quarterback or Travis Hunter, or maybe get Carter, right? But there's a world in which the Giants trade down. You never know. I mean, if the Giants could use some extra picks or so. I mean, especially if you trade into the top 3 or so, that's a premium. That's a premium. You should get a nice return on that. Maybe the Jets send a godfather offer for Hunter or his quarterback Shedeur Sanders, or the Raiders want to double down at quarterback, where General Manager Joe Schoen is set on loading up on picks. Oh, well, which is possible for the 2026 class next season, right? Whatever the reason or the team, Shane may find a trade partner, especially in the top 10. Well, that's you figure. I think that the Raiders are. I think they're number 9, right? Let's see what we got here. With so much attention spent on Hunter, the quarterback, and edge rusher Abdul Carter, it's worth examining the next tier of targets. Giants could target these 3 prospects and trade down with the top 10 within the top 10 picks. First one to talk about is Michigan defensive tackle Mason Graham. Plug and play, put him right next to Sexy Dexy. You have yourself a fab 4 right there with Graham, Sexy Dexy, Kayvon, and Burns. It's a nice foursome, real nice foursome. There's a dark horse to sneak into the draft's top 4 picks. It's Graham. Billed as an elite defensive tackle prospect, Graham came in a bit smaller than advertised during the pre-draft process, but is a blend of production, athleticism, and film that some teams will fall in love with. Well, I'm not sure what they're talking about as far as came in a bit small. He's 6'3", 320 pounds. I don't know. They thought he was 6'5". I don't know. They thought he was 340 pounds or something. I don't know. But here, I'm just what PFF has him at 6'3". Right? You look at Elijah Chapman. I mean, what the heck was he? Right? He's what, 5'11", 5'10", or something like that. So, let's see. For New York, the argument is simple. Defensive tackle Sexy Dexy needs a running mate, and pairing him with a high pedigree tackle prospect is a quick route to an elite defensive line. This achieves a similar goal to drafting Carter and allows the Giants to add draft capital in the process. Now, the next one, this one would be very interesting. They would take the Michigan cornerback, Will Johnson. This would be, I'll tell you what, boy. You'd have some cornerbacks. Whew. Wow. You shouldn't have to worry about cornerback position for a few years. You took Will Johnson. Hunter doesn't have many detractors, but those who are hesitant to spend a top 3 pick on him will argue that he isn't the best receiver or corner in the class. A debatable assertion in its own right. But if Hunter isn't the best corner in the draft, Johnson is. Graham's teammate at Michigan, Johnson has been a top 15 pick throughout the cycle. He's a physical and fluid, and while his speed might not qualify as elite, he makes up for it with good processing and ball skills. Drafting a corner in round 1 would complete the starting secondary and let Deonte Banks take a smaller role rather than hoping to improve on the fly in year 3. So, I mean, you had Phillips, you had Johnson, you had Debo, and then in the safeties, you got Newman and you got Holland. Woo! And then you got Banks trying to work his way on the field. Wow. That would be nice. That would really, really be nice. Okay, then the last one they talk about here, which once we talked about before, which, I mean, obviously, this is, they brought in a couple of, right, the tackles, right, swing tackles. But they're swing tackles. Neither one is an elite tackle, but they can play both right and left. Now, we realize that possibly they might bring back, Illuminor, possibly next season. We don't know. But if you can get yourself a young stud, now you got Andrew Thomas. Once again, if you don't know if the guy's ever going to be able to stay healthy ever again, you don't know. But, he's your left tackle. We are going to need a right guard and a right tackle eventually, right? And here they talk about Missouri offensive tackle Armand Membo. Given how New York's offensive line performed in its first third of the season and the depth Shane added in March, the offensive line isn't in urgent need. However, a long-term tackle opposite of Andrew Thomas isn't necessarily on the roster. No, it's not. A Membo selection, would allow right guard Greg Van Roten to start over John Michael Schmitz at center, with Illuminor kicking inside and Roki starting from the jump, meaning the Giants could start the best 5 offensive linemen. So let's not forget, when Schmitz was injured last season for a couple games, GVR swung into center. With elite athleticism, a dense frame, and flashes of high-level pass protection, New York stands to benefit from improving its supporting cast while preparing to draft a quarterback in 2026. So, there are, and I said, we have good receivers. If we look here, let me see, what do we got here? Here we go. Okay. All right, now it's also, not forget. Now, PFF has McMillan from Arizona is like their number 3 overall player, right? They got Hunter number 1, Carter number 2, and a McMillan wide receiver. Now, would he bet if the Giants were to move back a couple spots? Would the Giants think about maybe taking him? Then PFF has Graham, the defensive tackle, number 4. Said that would be fantastic. I said, whatever the Giants do, it may be in the first round. If they don't take a defensive tackle, which they quite possibly won't, I would love to see them take a defensive tackle in the second round or something. Get somebody who's, good. Said Graham is number 4. Then they got the runner Ashton Genty, I believe it is, from Boise State. That dude's a beast, right? Will Campbell, the tackle from LSU, is their 6th rated guy. Barron is a cornerback from Texas. He's their 7th rated guy. The tight end, Warren, from Penn State. Starks, we're not drafting a safety. They got Campbell, a linebacker from Alabama, is number 10. Then they got Membo, whatever, from the tackle from Missouri, is their 11th rated guy. Then they got Green from Marshall, who's another edge rusher. Will Johnson, right? So it depends also on how far back do the Giants fall to if they were to trade back, right? Because the Giants would also pick up draft picks. Now the thing is, the Giants would have fall back. Maybe they want to picking up they move back to whatever. Let's see. Is that it? Here we go. All right. So the Giants were to move back. Say to move back to number 9, right? Say Sanders is there at 3. The Saints come a calling. Yo, we want Sanders, or what? You want to trade with us? If the Giants aren't enamored with Sanders, they move back to 9. Take Saints pick, right? Now the Saints would owe the Giants about another 1,000 points. So the Saints would have to give up at least 2 seconds, or maybe next year's first round pick. This first. And the Saints got maybe this year's first, this year's second, and maybe next year's second or something, whatever like that. So the Giants maybe can pick up, an additional second round pick this year. That wouldn't be bad. Move back to number 9 and grab one of those players. As I said, on the top board for PFF, they got. We need there's a wide receiver, McMillan's there, right? But there's edge rushers there. There's defensive tackles there. There's cornerbacks there. There's defensive linemen there. So there are guys. So the Giants would have moved back there. There are guys the Giants can certainly take, and really, really help. I said, we really could use a tackle. Maybe not this year, but not this year. Next year, we're going to probably need a tackle. Right. So there are guys the Giants could trade back for. Once again, it takes 2 to tango. And, all the things you kind of hear about Sanders is, is there a team that's going to, if he's available, right? I don't know if somebody's going to want to trade up to number 3 to get Carter. Maybe. Maybe. Who knows? You don't know. But is somebody like the Saints going to want to trade from number 9 up to number 3 to grab Sanders or something like that? You don't know. You don't know if it is worth it or not. But